Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders would like to welcome life coach, corporate trainer, and public speaker, Paula Ruane. So welcome, Paula.
Thank you, Karen. Very good to be here.
So Paula, I'd like to congratulate you on all your achievements. Can you please share with us how your entrepreneurial journey started?
Yes, turning the clock back, I actually set up as an interior designer many years ago at a time people probably find hard to believe, when there were very little restrictions or regulations. You could just think of something, pluck an idea out of the air and say, yes, I'm going to do this. This is going to be my business. And at the time, obviously it's a long time ago, there were inspirational thought leaders like Germaine Greer, Shirley Conran, and so on. And so it was a very exciting time to set up.
That's amazing. So you're a life coach and have been through your own personal challenges. So was this something that influenced you in your decision to pursue this career path? And if so, please could you share with us what makes you different from others in your profession? And can you give us any examples?
Yes, well, first of all, I'm not truly a life coach. I can see why people would think I am, but I'm actually a stress resilience trainer and coach. And my experience is really based on seeing what happened to others, because the thing about stress is you never realize that you're really stressed yourself until after the event. So that's really what started things for me. My husband had a heart bypass when he was 35, so it's pretty young.
Yeah, that's very young.
It wasn't so much the illness, although obviously stress does make you very ill. Yes. Was the fact I'd watched his behavioral change for the previous 2 years after he'd given up smoking and drinking. So I had seen what we would see now as stress crutches, if you like.
Yes.
Those had been removed. And I saw how stress was impacting him in his behavior, in his the way he behaved, his attitude and so on. So that was really it. And then my brother-in-law actually did commit suicide, took his life, which I saw the impact of that on his family. And my own daughter was diagnosed with leukemia when she was only 22. And with her results, every time she went back to the hospital to check, if she'd been through a particularly stressful time, her leukemic levels rose. And when she was going through a good time, they dropped. So to me, it was as clear as the nose on my face what was going on.
Absolutely. And it affects and impacts so many people that they're not even consciously, I guess, even realize the level of stress that people are enduring, even in the current environment that we're in. So what would you say some of your biggest lessons and learnings have been within your career?
I would say the one thing above all others is anything you set your mind to do, you can do.
Yes.
If you want to. Especially in the UK, I think, where we're so fortunate to have so much education at hand, if you start looking, and that is the number one thing. Napoleon Hill, who's a very well-known old, long dead author, wrote, anything the mind of man can conceive and believe he can achieve. And that is absolutely true. Anyone can be and do anything they want. And I think the tragedy today is most people think they can't and they're restricted. They don't realize they have the choice.
Yes, absolutely. So you're also a public speaker and corporate trainer. Can you share with us more about this? And was public speaking a natural and organic process for you?
Absolutely not.
For some people it is, and for some people it's not. So
it is.
I never like to assume.
Yeah, it is actually the number one fear for most people, public speaking. So I think if you ask me to talk about what you do, Karen, or economics, I would be dull, boring, unenthusiastic, and come across as wooden, unauthentic. But when you have a passion and you believe in something, it's easy. It's easy to spread that energy and word, and that's what I enjoy doing. I love doing the sorts of meetings where people are included, and there's a lot of backwards and forwards and opening up. So yes, I love it.
It's amazing. So one of your key focuses is on health and mental wellness through your practices. So can you please share with us or share with the audience more about this and how this comes into your training?
Yes, so when we go back to stress itself, there is a primitive reaction everyone's heard of, fight, flight, freeze. And the opposite is rest, digest. And you can't be in both states at the same time, but
Yes.
there are shades of grey, obviously. So the number one thing I share, I'm not stress management because that's about sorting out what you've got. I want to have stress prevention, stress reduction.
Yes.
So the first thing I teach people and tell them about is messages from the body. You
Yes.
know, the mind and the body are two indivisible sides of the same coin, and one impacts the other. I can't say which is which, but running all of that are emotions. So I focus on the intelligence of the heart. I'm a heart math licensed group and personal trainer. Coach. So that's what I work on, helping people recognize the messages from their own body and then teaching them self-regulation. So they're back in control.
Yeah, absolutely. So that leads me to obviously the current environment, which has been this pandemic over the last 20 months, which has also amplified pressure along with stress and obviously mental health. So how have you adapted and adjusted within your own business? And have you been able to help your clients navigate through these challenging times? And if so, can you give us any examples?
Yes, of course. Well, in fact, COVID has actually been pretty good for me. So
Yes.
I'm very fortunate. So my work itself, I'm online. So the number one tool I use is a voice scan. So anyone, anywhere can, with a link, talk to the microphone in their phone or device. And
Yes.
10 seconds later, it shows me where stress can be blocking them and where it can create issues with things like sleep, digestion, maybe relationships. So that's how I actually operate now. And that's been totally revolutionary for me. For me personally, obviously, we are all up against it. So I do keep track on myself as well.
Yes.
Can you repeat the second part of the question, Karen? Sorry.
How have you adapted and adjusted within your own business? And have you been able to help your clients navigate through these challenging times? And can you give us any examples?
Examples, that's right. So I'll give you two examples which sprang to mind when I saw your questions, first of all. One of them, she's been running her own successful business for 10 years. She set it up literally shortly before she very tragically lost her husband, who died suddenly of a brain aneurysm. So she set up this business with two young children and had been running it for 10 years. So she's been very successful. When you see her, meet her, you would never believe that anything was going on because she's really an empowered woman, very confident. However, her two daughters now are at the stage where they're going to university. So suddenly her circumstance at home has changed. She's hugely successful working in London in the construction industry. And she is doing many things, many roles. And sometimes people, when they're very stressed, can say yes more easily than perhaps is wise or advisable. So this was a process of helping her set her own boundaries and recognizing how she felt before she was likely to say yes. And so that she could then, with that information, self-regulation, she could then practice one of the heart math techniques to give herself the correct answer, whether she should progress or not with that particular project that she was asked to do.
So what would you say some of your biggest career highlights have been within your career? I mean, maybe you've got multiple, but what really stands out for you?
There have been so many. The one thing I would say is the change I can make, not with everyone all at once, but the changes that have been brought, not through me. Well, I'm the conduit. So the training I have, that has that has been the most rewarding thing for me, obviously, along with personal things like my own family. And I must tell you, by the way, that my husband, who practices the techniques, he is very, very fit and healthy and made full recovery a long time ago. And my daughter, who was diagnosed with leukemia 15 years ago, is
Yes.
now in remission and is actually having a baby in January. And
Wow,
she's
that's amazing.
off her chemotherapy. So yes, so those are my achievements, you know. These are my personal achievements, not award-winning.
No,
They're very
but
nice.
it doesn't have to be that. And I think
It doesn't, exactly. Yeah.
So anxiety, stress, digestive issues, lack of sleep, and so much more are all linked to emotions and the complexities of life which manifest physically. So can you share with us how you help and address and change this for your clients and help improve all aspects of life? And can you give us any examples?
Yes, so anyone can go and search for stress management tips, and we know what they are, you know, walking more, getting out more, choosing different food. So the techniques I actually teach are experiential, which means people have to do them to benefit. And we always start at the number one thing, which is to calm that autonomic nervous system down, to take it out of fight, flight, freeze, which is the reactionary, defensive, aggressive, black, white bit of the brain, if you like. So that's the number one thing. And I thought, Karen, if there's enough time, I would talk you through the very basic technique, which is heart math. I'm actually writing a book. They've given me permission to publish one of the techniques. And so I will be allowed and authorized, because it is intellectual property, of course, to do this, if that would be helpful. So you can actually experience it for yourself, and those listeners as well can. And if they do nothing else, this will give them a pause button. So instead of rushing in and sending off that email without thinking it through, or saying something because someone's upset you in retaliation, you can give yourself that pause button so that you are better able to give yourself that buffer of time and then respond rather than react.
Yeah, no, that will be amazing. So we can do that to follow, because we're literally on the last two questions. So we can do that to follow. So what are the 3 key pieces of advice you would give to other entrepreneurs, but also to help people within, stressful situations or things that they can do? And obviously we will be talking about that, or we will be going through a technique. But what are some of the things, the 3 key pieces of advice? And then how would you like to be remembered, or what legacy would you like to leave? Some people don't like the word legacy.
So 3 key things is, I would say, first of all, well, I hate to quote Prince Harry from his place of privilege telling everyone to quit, but I think in essence what he means is you've got to be passionate about what you do. So whatever people do, be passionate about it and be committed and aim to be the best you can without comparing yourselves to others. You know, we always compare our own weaknesses to other people's strengths. So that's one thing. Be prepared to be adaptable and open. And that's one of the hardest things. And appreciate feedback and criticism, even though it's uncomfortable and painful. Take it on board, because usually there is an element there which can be very helpful if you think about it.
But also, don't you agree that it's also about the approach of how people, if it's constructive criticism, because I think there's a way in which, or a tone in which people can approach it. So I don't always think people handle that very well.
That's true, but that's a perfect life, isn't it? Where the criticism and reactions come in well phrased with a bunch of flowers. I mean, it's not like that, is it? No. I mean, you soon see comments and hear comments, and probably those are even more relevant, and that's the hard bit. So I think it's always just aim to be your best. Life is work in progress. and we never really get it done. So it's just a question of evolving and changing and adapting, and that applies to your business in particular. You know, your business sometimes dictates how it wants to go, even though you have this firm idea fixed in your own mind. It can become a sort of living, breathing thing, which of course is based on feedback and reactions of others.
Yes, absolutely. And then what legacy would you like to leave, or how would you like to be remembered?
So I did actually write this down. And so it's actually two parts, really, and it's very hard. But I think one of the big things about stress, anxiety, however you phrase it, is it really disempowers people.
Yes.
So I would like to be known for helping people find their own source of power, which is often hidden by, you know, using a can-do attitude. And then the legacy, I would say, is that stress today is not mental illness. It really is a symptom of how we have to work and operate online. And you can see a direct correlation between the increase of stress levels and the increase of take-up with social media. It started pretty much 2004 with Facebook, the big release of Facebook. And stress levels have gone up and up because, of course, we're online more and more and more, and not just 9 to 5, but all the way through the night.
Yes.
So that would be my legacy, that stress is not a mental illness. It's a symptom of how we work today, and that to start talking about it, being open about it, accepting it's here, just like people now accept COVID is here, stress is here, and there are ways and means to deal with it. And we've just got to do that in order to be happy.
Absolutely. So should we do the technique that you want to do? And then when we're done, if people do want to get in contact with you, Paula, just before we move on, what are the best platforms to do so?
So I'm on LinkedIn. I've got a Facebook page, but I tend to be on LinkedIn more. My website is www.paularuane, which is RUANE, Ruane.com, and I can be reached through there. I have an online 26-question stress and alertness test, which people might like to do for fun. And depending on the levels, I will let them know where they sit in the spectrum. Yes, so that's the best way of getting hold of me. So if people are ready, if you're ready, Karen,
Yes.
I can take you through. So the first thing to know about HeartMath is that this is not mindfulness meditation. This is stuff you do in the moment, on the job, on the go, because what we're doing is we are recentering ourselves, we're rebalancing ourselves as we go through the day, because most stress causes a waste of energy, and that's why we're always exhausted at night.
Yes.
So first of all, if you just like to make yourselves comfortable where you're sitting, maybe put both feet on the floor and just feel yourself being softly comfortable. So this is not deep relaxation. If you are looking at something that is engaging, like a flower pot or plant or a photo of someone, don't look at your phone for work or your emails while you do this, just to begin with. In fact, possibly for now, I would suggest you close your eyes just this once, so that you just tune into you and yourself, so you can just be aware of the changes in this very, very simple but profound technique. So what I'd like you to do now, I invite you to put your hand on your chest, sort of around the area of the heart. So just place your hand there and just imagine now that you're slowing your breath, so it's slightly deeper, slightly fuller, and you're breathing that breath in and out through your hand into your heart. So slightly deeper breath, slightly fuller, even, in through your hand into the heart. And just keep this nice rhythm, maybe counting to 5 as you breathe in, 5 as you breathe out, in and out through the hand. And just be aware now maybe of how you feel around the back of the neck, shoulders, back. You should feel softly comfortable and maybe a sense of inner ease. Just from breathing in and out through your hand into the heart. So if you'd like to now just focus your attention back to me, Karen, I'd just ask you, did you feel any slight change? It does take a bit of practice, but did you feel anything there?
Yeah, definitely. And it's definitely a sense of calm.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Now, the great news is that you can do this pretty much all the time, unless you're running for a bus or making the bed or something with big exertion, while
Yes.
you're checking emails, waiting for the kettle to boil, listening to a friend, hanging on to have your call answered. At any time you breathe, anyway, why not breathe like this? And it's
Yeah.
called heart-focused breathing. And it just creates a bit of a choice point. It
Yeah.
just stops that very frenetic activity with practice, so
Yeah.
that you then are able to then open that irritating client's email or deal with something, you know, that has been on your mind a bit. And every time you think about it, you know, you think, oh my God, I just don't want to have to deal with that. Then go to it and it will start to feel different.
Yeah.
And you're going to start to make better decisions, better outcomes, because stress makes you stupid, ill, fat, and old.
Yes.
So
Definitely.
don't give it a home. That's what I say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks so much, Paula, for your time, and hopefully we can have you back in the future to see where you are in your journey. And thanks so much for joining us.
It's been my very great pleasure. And thank you for the invitation, Karen. It's been really, really great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.